business is not only for airlines, unfortunately. It affects all the travel chain. I had an interview with channels lately, and I tried to I singled out the travel agency suffering. I'm sure Susan will talk more about their sufferings, because on the GDS level, where we're travel technology, we see all that they do. Once the bookings are canceled, they are losing money. So they are facing a hell of challenges from that angle. The airports, the quiet airport, losing a lot of money. But the government, in its own wisdom, intervened lately. The Nigerian government intervened and said, well, we will give you a kind of stimulus support to come out of it, and offered put 2 trillion naira on the table. I quickly converted that, and that gives us roughly $5 billion at today's rate, or whatever, 400, 410, or thereabout. And I said, who's going to have this? The whole of this money, if given to Air Peace, it may not solve his problem. The whole of the money, the whole $5 billion. Meanwhile, we have our ARIC, we have Aero, already economically in ICU before COVID. So what happens post-COVID? So their case is even worse. So what is $5 billion going to do for airline sector alone? Now, talk about business loss now by the airports, because we need to think of our airports who has lost all their earnings because of the aircrafts on ground, aircraft landing, parking, night charges, overflight charges, rent, name it. How about the handling companies? So the problem is enormous. And my worry is, thanks to our minister in Nigeria, who has managed to get the paper promise of 2 trillion naira. How quickly we dish out this money. It's one thing to budget the money, it's another thing for the money to be out. So how quickly can we get this money, given the fact that the Nigerian budget this year was premised on $57 per barrel. And today we're talking about $20. So from this promise to reality, that scares me. And so post-COVID economic bailout for the aviation sector alone, that fund may not be sufficient. That fund may not come on time. I'm not Thomas. And if it doesn't come on time, Q2 is going, Q3 we go, and by the time we enter Q4, our airlines may be all dead. Let me just pause for now and let's interact a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for that insightful time. Already, someone already said on the participant in the chat room that you sound like a university lecturer. He is enjoying the lecture. But this is actually is an interactive session that we are having here today. So, Didier, are you there?
Oh, yes, I'm here.
All right, Didier, I want you to bring on for me Mr. Menon, our aviation expert who has been with so many airlines, to give us the African perspective on the situation with the airlines in Africa, and then what should airlines do to bring back the sales, to bring back the travel and the reservations so that tourism can survive in Africa. Go ahead.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Captain Emmanuel the Great. Is it the great or great?
Whichever way. Whichever way.
It is my honor, of course, as usual, to be here. With this person comes the whole aviation brain, and he's going to tell us, because at some point, before I can even allow you or give you the floor to tell us, to share with us your knowledge, Mr. Menon, we feel sometimes like Doctor just said now that the government did the good work. But at some point I also feel that the decision, maybe we follow too much of what's happening because the West End have closed, America's closed. Let's also do the same. Are we really sure that we couldn't? Let's here we're talking of as Africa. Couldn't we just operate, maybe put some measures in place regionally, for example, and get the economy going a little bit? We know that the West End, the world has become all one village, but in your expertise as an aviation expert, what do you think of all this situation here? And what is the aviation doing right? What are they doing wrong? And if you had to decide for the aviation sector, what would you say? Over to you, Mr. Menon. Captain, you might need to unmute his mic.
Yeah, doing that already.
Mr. Menon, try to unmute your mic on your side. Oh yeah, there you go.
He's unmuted now.
No, we can't still hear you.
We can't hear you, Mr. Menon. You want to disconnect? Oh, yes,
perfect.
we can hear you now.
Yeah. We can hear you
now. Okay.
Yeah.
I was saying good evening to everybody and to the 97 participants who are in this webinar. Really happy to be here. And before I start, we would like to welcome everybody to Mauritius once COVID is over. It's a beautiful island. You will really enjoy it here. So looking forward to see you here in Mauritius soon. So going back to the question of DJ of whether we should have adopted a one-size-fits-all approach to the response to COVID. Okay, I don't want to get into trouble with the health authorities, but it's true that we tend to copy what the Western world has done. And if we, on the other side, if we look at the rate of infection in Africa, and it seems to be on the low side, and there might be reasons which are linked to the fact that we have vaccinations, we have been vaccinated for a number of diseases, we have managed a number of pandemics in the past, and we know how to deal with it. So maybe there should have been an African solution to the COVID-19 instead of just adopting a full lockdown of airports and borders. So that's my feel of how we should have responded to that event, Didier.
All right. That is how we should have responded. Now, the post-COVID-19. What should the aviation, the African aviation, be doing right now? We see online that some people suggesting spacing seats and things like that. But of course, that will definitely come with a high cost of seat. It's like everyone will fly business class option. That is the only option. Can we really get there? Do you think that's because also this one was said, hey, apologies, Madam Susan. I didn't even say hi to you. It's not my fault. It's Captain Emmanuel. Hi, Madam. Yeah, and then so the health experts are saying that this thing is here and it's not gonna go now. We might just get a point where it's like the influenza flu, which we know it comes seasonally. We have it. Okay, so we're not gonna wait. We're not gonna come a day where it's like, bang, Corona is gone and now back to normal. It will not. We might end up adjusting to that. So what should the airline be doing? Because Corona is here. It's now one of the passengers.
Okay, DJ, let me try and answer this question for you. Even though we have a lot of big ogres in the room, So they'll correct me if I'm wrong in terms of how I see the perspective of where aviation will be post-COVID. But before we actually talk of aviation post-COVID, we need to know where is aviation right now. So what is the state of affairs of airline? And if you look at the airline in terms of generalization, there are three types of airlines right now. There are airlines which are resilient. They have at least 2 months of cash reserve, and they're trying to survive based on that cash reserve. There are airlines who are seeking government support. You see that in the US, you saw that in France and in Germany. And there are airlines who are on the verge of bankruptcy, and there are a lot of them. And IATA is forecasting that by June, July, there will be a lot more of airlines who will be in bankruptcy. So that's roughly 25 millions of jobs at risk in that sector, 250 million USD of revenue loss. And this is a sector that contributes to around 3.6% of GDP globally. So it's not a small sector we're talking about. In Africa alone, that's roughly 6.2 million jobs that are linked to the airline sector. So if we have that kind of state of affair, what are the short-term challenges that we have in the airline industry right now? It's mainly liquidity. You know, in any business, cash is king. So if you look at an airline business, 49% of our operating costs are fixed or semi-fixed, which means that we don't have revenue right now. We're not flying, we're not selling tickets, but still we have to pay 49% of that operating costs we have to shoulder that cost. And we have a lot of uncertainty in terms of your planning horizon. I mean, if you look at Nigeria right now, you just learned that your domestic borders are closed, no more flights. And that happened overnight. So how do you deal with that? Also, airlines are looking at their operational and organizational structure, how many people they have in-house, how they're going to manage people when they're working at home. And lastly, the short-term challenge in terms of regulatory environment. What's going to happen with social distancing? Somebody mentioned social distancing on the aircraft, and this is not feasible. It's not efficient for aircraft to fly with empty seats. IATA made a study and saw that if we had to nullify one seat per row, that would drop our seat capacity by 62%. And no airlines can survive at 62% average load factor. So to do that, even if we have to do that, we'll have to increase fare by 50%. So just tell me which market can take a 50% increase in fare at this point in time. Very few markets can do that right now. So just to maybe set the scene more in terms of where airline is part of an ecosystem. We're part of a value chain. So we can't just analyze airline response to COVID only based on our initial internal reactions. We have to look at what's happening to the society. So we're talking of maybe a recession or hopefully not a depression. If it's a depression is going to be long-term, in many years of economic slump. So if we have that kind of recession or depression, we have impact on movement of goods and people, we have less disposable income, we have companies who will tighten their travel budget, we'll have, and these are, to some extent, Africa has been through all of these and sometimes survived these kind of economic hardships. So if we look at the world, Africa, to some extent, we can deal with these kinds of hardships. So what will happen in societies in Africa? Because this will tell us what the airline business or the sales or the travel business will be in the future. I think for African countries, we're going back to basics. We're going back to basics. Why? Because COVID is telling us where are our shortfalls. If you look at Africa as a continent, 40% of households across Africa are not electrified. You look at Nigeria itself, a very small percentage of your households have broadband. And these are shortfalls that are actually being highlighted during COVID because you need that kind of support when everybody is at home. And also you have a large number of people who are in the informal sector and who will be unemployed as economies get locked down for a long period of time. So all this we have to analyze them and see how do we respond to that. How do we become more resilient? So you want me to talk about the new airline, the new normal, okay? So
yes. I'll be back to you, Mr. Menon. I'll be back to you, Mr. Menon. We have quite a full panel today, and I would like to bring Dr. Gbenga Olowo back when you were talking about the financing part of the airlines, the economics of social distancing. Dr. Gabriel Olowo, he had a very wonderful smile on his face. Dr. Gabriel, I want you to weigh in on what Mr. Menon just said about the economics of airline financing post-COVID-19, looking at social distancing. You have the floor, sir.
Yeah, actually, I was nodding my head when you got to that topic because that is just the reality. Social distancing is just not possible. One question that when Christopher said, what should West African people, what should we be doing right now together? And I just noted it here. I said, at this time, African Airlines and West African Airlines, for that matter, should not be thinking of job losses. We must keep our staff. We must keep our employees. There is this old adage that says, take away my farm and leave my men. Tomorrow, I will have a bigger farm, provided I have my men. But take away my men and give me my farm. Tomorrow, I will have no farm. Number one thing in West Africa and Africa, job losses should be discouraged among us. Why? When we look at our costs, like the last speaker said, manpower costs is not the cost that is killing the system. Our number one cost element is the fuel. So at this time, we need to sit down and continue to strategize. What shall we do about fuel? Fuel is the monster, is the number one monster. 40% or thereabout or more. Varies from region to region. What shall we do? Oil prices are going down. Is the price going down pari passu? Is PMS is going down? Is ATK going down along the same direction? The effort of AFRA, is it working? Can we sign certain things during these restricted operations? Can we sign big deal with the multinationals and say, okay, now that fuel is going down, we want ATK down, our members are going to be able to buy this volume post-COVID. This is the kind of price we want. Fuel, after taking care of fuel, let's look at other areas that are very high. Most African airlines, they are paying attention on infinitesimal areas. Cost of distribution, cost of marketing, things that are less than 1% of cost. That is where African airlines are watching. We must pay attention on very imposing monsters, the what we call almost uncontrollable factors of production. That's the area African airlines should concentrate and try to cooperate, getting ready some powerful agreements while we are not flying, strategize together and come out with some powerful agreements so that immediately we start flying, we begin to take advantage of those agreements. If countries, governments can support in terms of grants, that's welcome. But if countries do not have the muscle to give grants, how about loans and loan guarantees? Loans are very, very low percentage. This is the time to talk to government and banks and institutions. We need loans at X percentage. Strike all this and put it on paper before we begin to fly fully. I can see us beginning to fly fully quarter 4 of 2020 or quarter 1, 2021, hopefully. So this is what I think we should begin to do. And in whatever corner we find ourselves as Africans also, for God's sake, let's think of alternative medicine. How long are we going to wait for WHO? Alternative medicine. We have medicine in Africa. From South Africa up to Algeria, Morocco. Let our people put our heads together. The Chinese are telling you our own medicine is working. So how long am I going to wait in Western medicine to tell me, hey, COVID-19 solution is only from Western vaccine? Who says that medication discovered in Senegal cannot work for us? If it works for us tomorrow, we open our air the second day. So alternative medicine from Africa, I think, should be encouraged in our own sphere of influence. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Olowo.
Waiting for somebody to decide for us. Huh?
That's very key. Did
Yes.
you know what? There is a post that is circulating as of yesterday that Madagascar has recorded no death from the current COVID-19 cases, and that they have been using alternative medicine, herbal medicine, and now they are actually exporting this particular alternative medicine.
I would like to jump on this one. You saying yesterday, I can tell you that I've been sharing on this since nearly 10 days already about the Madagascar that has not recorded any single death, but out of 151 cases they had recorded, 103 as per this morning have healed. That is an Equatorial Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, and other African countries. I saw the video of their aircraft going to collect their loads of this. It's called the COVID organics. Which is developed on the basis of the plant that's called Artemisia plants. So such things, even this morning, today, I have an article that still says, now, what Madagascar did, first of all, I followed the interview of one of the doctor, who's a Congolese doctor, who worked with the Madagascar laboratory to develop that. After doing all the discovery, because this doctor is actually part of the World Health Organization, he challenged them, he said, come and test. It's not hidden. They even refused, Yes. They didn't even want to entertain, not that they haven't tested it and said, no, these are the inconvenience. They refused, rejected it. We're not even listening. This is one thing. Secondly, today they say that the Madagascar now has been in contact with the Minister of Health in South Africa for further research on that. And you can see that there is so much certainty. And I'm happy the Ministry of Health in South Africa has agreed to work now with the Center of Research in Madagascar. And the third element, let me tell you, most of us here, Africans, we know that chloroquine is one of the strongest medicine to deal with the malaria. And it's been there for ages. Even Donald Trump, they kept on mentioning this. The fourth and very strange thing is that the president of Tanzania said something 2 days ago. People took it as fun, but it's actually not fun. When he said, how come we even test Popo is testing positive? There is something wrong with this testing kit. And people are laughing, but it's actually true. It is true. How can a fruit test positive of COVID-19? Either those things, they come already, they are tempered with, they are there to test positive. And the question we're asking ourselves is that high temperature cannot be the only way to detect it. Where there is malaria, people have fever and very high temperature. How do you pick? When you pick high temperature, how do you know this is malaria, this is COVID-19? That is big question mark. Nobody has answered to that. And secondly, most of the people identified in Africa as they are affected by COVID-19.
Hold on, Didier. See, we are going to dedicate another separate session to discuss alternative medicine.
I'm actually done with it. I'm actually done with it.
Fine.
Yes,
fine.
Because I can see
if you're done,
Mr. Christopher, the way this will cough if we don't let
So now, Didier, I want you to bring in our panel member from KQ to weigh in on these comments from Samira Golahosen in the chat room. And I want you to hear.
Yes.
I think those airlines, hold on, Didier. I want to read you a comment from the chat room. And
yes.
I want you to bring in our panel member from KQ to weigh in on this. I think those airlines which hope to make it through this crisis, we need to improve, number one, yields on tickets sold through three things: cost discipline, rational fare structures, and creative ancillary retailing. Please, can our panel member, our panelists from KQ, can you weigh in on this comment? Thank you.
Mr. Christopher, we are on your side now. Your expertise. and you know what I like about this webinar is that we have the brains of Africa here. We have people that makes, you know, Africa go around, whether it's in airline, whether it's in hospitality, whether it's in DMCs, whether it's in the airport handling. So we really get the right people for the right stuff. So Mr. Christopher, your experience is huge, more than many airlines experience and aviation experience. Share with us, what do you think in terms of what is being discussed? And the question that I didn't read that question, that's why I'm not able to repeat that Captain Emmanuel just said before I could say anything. But quickly, Captain Emmanuel, there is a default name that's appearing for everybody. It's
Yes,
faces.
yes,
And
it's a
if
Zoom.
everyone can go on the right corner, right top, there's a three dot. You click it, you'll be able to change your name there and put your right name there. For those that have been asking how to change name. Okay, Mr. Christopher, over to you.
All right. Mr. Christopher, you might have to raise up your hand so that we can be able to identify you, so we can unmute your mic. We are having this name bug with Zoom. Our webinar team has sent a report to Zoom on this already. So, but Mr. Christopher, you might have to raise up your hand on the Oh, thank you very much. So I'm unmuting you now. Thank you.
Now, okay. Sorry,
yes, you have the floor now.
Yeah, can you take that question again, please?
Okay,
I
all right.
Quite get you. Yes, yes.
Okay, fine. It's a comment by Mr. Samurai in the chat room, and it reads, I think the airlines that hopes to make it through this crisis, we need to improve yields on tickets sold through three things. Number one, cost discipline. Two, rational fare structures. And three, creative ancillary retailing. What do you say to this from your KQ perspective?
Absolutely. Weighing in from the previous discussion, truly, as Africans, we need to draw our own roadmap. Otherwise, we'll follow the roadmap that others pull for us, you know, and we'll never make any headway. But in citing all of that, you know, yes, we cannot downplay, you know, the impact of this pandemic. You know, the impact is, we cannot quantify it. You know, of course, coming out of this, you have a lot of people going into admin, you have a lot of airlines going into administration, consolidation, and liquidation. Whether we like it or not, there are going to be job losses because there's a new work model now, you know, or practices, you know, and people are learning to save costs. Organizations are going to learn. I like what Mr. Olowo said, Dr. Olowo said, you know, about protecting the workers. Give me the workers, you know, and I'll have another farm. You know, but we cannot have that matters. We know that we're going to have job losses. We're going to have reduced demand. You know, revenue are going to be lost. Let me not belabor all of this, but in going to that, you know, it's about looking at what are the opportunities. You know, like he rightly said, yes, we'll have to rejig, you know, our models. You know, we have to reevaluate, you know, how we want to do business going forward. You know, because they say if you keep doing the same thing,
you keep getting the same result. So you have to think it differently, and how can we maximize, on the internet, looking at what has happened, how do we engage? Of course, I know that you cannot travel virtually, but the name of the game going forward and coming out of the pandemic is value creation. If you are not adding value, it means that you're creating problems. There's no middle ground. It's either you create value, or you go out for the industry. And for us to continue to remain relevant in the business, we have to stimulate demands. Whether we like it or not, corporate travel is going to be down drastically because the CFOs will be trying to mitigate and preserve their cash. We're not going to have corporate travel. We're going to have a lot of seats, left open. Like Menon said, about 50% if you remove even the middle seat in the event of that. But otherwise, yes, it's estimated that we're going to have 20% to 30% less people traveling. One thing is we have to create new initiative, create new incentive, to stimulate the market. Presently, what we've done is to waive charges, on tickets that you're holding, so that you don't have to pay the penalties for those tickets, convert them to voucher, and extend the validity so they can be used. Automated processes too is one thing that can bring about confidence in the traveling public, because now you have to increase. Yes, we have some level of automation, but yes, they are not like foolproof. Some people try and they just give up. We have to make sure that these things are working. People can buy tickets online, people can check in online, people can do their reservations online, people can make their payments online, the entire value chain, make it seamless for the people, create the confidence too for people to travel. Yes, I don't know how we're going to work out the modalities at the airport, but I think at this time, because we have this latitude of time, we're going to engage, the stakeholders are going to engage, and see how do we manage the airport going forward. It's not just even social distancing at the point of check-in. If you mark the point of check-in, what are you going to do to the boarding gates? People are going to be clustered there, and how do you social distance at the boarding gate? I think the 4 weeks will give us enough time to be able to, but by and large, we'll have to look at how to do our own thing. We have to draw our own roadmap, Didier.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. And being an aviation expert, we can clearly understand the different view, different perspective, different angles. So in aviation, we understand the money is a big factor. And there is a certain level or standard or number that the airline should reach in order to operate. Now, another question, still in line with that. Why all of a sudden, merely 2 months, not even 2 months, after lockdown, even airlines known as biggest, we're hearing rumors of liquidation, being grounded and things like that. What exactly, because I'm not in aviation, so I'm saying, but they don't need fuel. Those airlines have packed. It's not going anywhere. They're not being serviced. What can you, specialist professional in aviation, tell us what exactly is going on here? Not even 2 months of self-sustainability. What is going on? Mr. Christopher, let's start with you since you have the floor.
Okay. My 2 cents, Didier. Whether we like it or not, a lot of airlines have aircraft that are on lease. You're paying those lease charges, whether they fly, or not. Yes, even if you get like a reprieve, and get the payments deferred, you're still going to pay. So it's still on your books, for those payments. And as it is, you have people even retiring aircraft, aircraft that have been flying for, like the A380s, for instance. I realize some airlines are already sending them to storage, or the aircraft graveyard at 11 years old. You wouldn't have made the money for that aircraft. Then you're thinking of estate, whether you fly or not, your rents are going up, your lease, and your contract with all the varied suppliers is running. It's not just fuel that is the factor. Yes, the aircraft lying down is big. And if you park at an airport which is not your base, remember you're paying parking charges. Even storing the aircraft.
Government has relaxed taxes and relief a bit due to COVID-19.
Well, we can read about those, but we need to see them being applied, just like the palliative or the stimulus, when do you get it? Is when you get it that you actually know that those things are in your hand and you can actually act on them. But before then, would the airline still be alive, or would they be off the ground?
Okay, Dr. Gabriel, what do you have to say about this? Why such big alarm merely 2 months of lockdown, or just below even 2 months? Where's the billions airlines make go to? Where does it disappear? And these aircraft are not moving; they are on the ground.
Yeah, you can see me nodding my head. That your question is so real. It's so real. But the answer is very simple. Christopher attempted to give a very good answer to it. The airline, the money that we call liquidity in the airline's pocket is like a banker's deposit. The money is in your pocket. The guy who wants to fly in December has paid you, and that money is in your pocket. He's still going to fly in December. It's in your pocket in May. All right? So you already have a scheduled payment. He was talking about lease rental, the lease, maintenance reserve, APU, insurance, that are already scheduled payments. And that money in your pocket that you think is your money, contract has not been fulfilled because the passenger is yet to travel. You are trying to use that money to meet scheduled payments. And suddenly, the flights are no longer there and people are asking for the money. So definitely the leaves begin to pile one another. And that is why ordinary cancellations due to bad weather. Once an airline sees a rain or a cloud, it's going to disrupt this schedule. That schedule that you are thinking of operating, you already imagine the money is in your pocket. When that flight is canceled, that money is again not in your pocket, because you want to earn the money that is in your pocket. And you don't earn that money until the passenger is flown. So any slight disruption to airline business like this, judging from my own experience when I was ED of an airline, I don't want to see cloud or rain or thunder. It's because my pocket is already shaking. So the slightest disruption to flight schedule, slightest, is near bankruptcy. The earnings of next week, next month, I'm already spending now. I anticipate I'm going to earn X amount in next week, 2 weeks, and I draw it from my bank. And the day I don't earn it, there's a minus 1 million or 2 million X, there is a big trouble. So within these 2 months, all those pack of cards fell on one another and the shock is not there. So liquidity disappears in the pocket of airlines. And that's why you'll see what you see. That is exactly the case.
Wow. That's eye-opener, to be honest. We didn't know that airline operates like that on credit, on our money, or passengers' money. But we hear big
I told you during the previous editions that that's your issue with the airline is not standing. Okay, planes are parked right now. Aircraft, as a pilot, I can tell you, aircraft are not manufactured to be parked. They're manufactured to fly. So now that they are parked, airlines are paying parking fees. Like Mr. Christopher said, they have to pay on their leases. either COVID-19 or no COVID-19, you have a lease agreement with your leasing companies, either wet or dry lease. They will definitely, company, government don't think about them first. So your contract comes first. Then
Captain,
you don't also forget that airlines edge fuel. I thought
Captain,
Dr. Olowo would mention that fuel edging is
my
also
car is
one
now
issue.
parked in the garage. Somebody can tell me, but you are not paying for the garage. But when I pay rent and taxes for my property, that's included. I'd like to have on the same question of I'm so sorry, we're having a name bag somewhere with the Zoom. So our brother from Air Cote d'Ivoire.
Yeah, Mr. Bakare Abiola is in the house. I want to bring him on board now.
Monsieur Bakare, vous serez bientôt introduit par capitaine.
I introduced him. He's my brother and a friend. He has a lot of experience in the travel tourism, and he was with KQ, and then now he's currently with Air Cote d'Ivoire. Mr. Bakare,
wow. Okay.
Please come on and weigh in on the discussion on ground.
Yeah. Before we go to Mr.
Good afternoon,
on the same question.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Good afternoon. One of my icons, Dr. Olowo, has spoken so well as regards the reality as it relates to airline. Even Christopher has also spoken so well in this regard. The first thing we need to realize is that the airline industry is an industry that lives on a thin margin. I saw a lot of questions here that people are saying that can't the airline get waivers and so on and so forth. Like Dr. Olowo said in his earlier submission, there's a difference between approval on paper and approval that you have finalized in itself. So whether you fly or not as an airline, you are incurring some costs that are not avoidable. And also the sector has a lot of other industry that surround it. Like for us as an airline, we have other partners such as the ground handlers, the catering provider, the security provider. You need to renew those agreements. Yeah, this is an act of God. This is something that we don't have control over, but nevertheless, it's actually a time for us to look at those agreements critically and ensure that we don't go to court over a business disagreement issue. So the industry is capital intensive. It's also a thin margin. And also, mind you, some airline in Africa, not Air Cote d'Ivoire, mind you, I speak as a professional in the airline industry, but not necessarily whatever I say does not represent the opinion of Air Cote d'Ivoire. Mind you, some airline in Africa are operating for public relation purpose to facilitate people-to-people relationship, transportation of goods and services from one point to another. So necessarily, those kind of airlines, not Air Cote d'Ivoire, are not expected to make profit. They are supposed to develop the tourism. And if you look at it in practice, we've seen this is a reality in some of the airlines in Africa, that it has helped in developing the tourism arrival numbers of those countries. Hello?
Yeah, we are with you, Mr. Bakare.
Yeah, okay.
The floor is yours. You have 3 minutes more. Wrap it up.
Okay, it's a thin margin sector, and there are a lot of other subsectors that are associated with it. We have the catering, we have the security, we have other, but the way forward for us as an airline is that we must create other niche market. But and also
1 minute left, Mr. Bakare, but you don't pay for those services now. That's what we're trying to think. Some of us out of the aviation, you're not paying for the service catering while the aircraft is not operating.
Yes, we don't pay for catering while the aircraft are not operating, but we have agreement. We pay for parking, leases agreement, whether you operate or not, depends on the type of lease, you might have to pay. What of staff salary? Yeah, the airlines are not operating. You have to pay the staff.
But
you might not pay them the
airlines are saying they can't pay. They have not even paid for some months.
They are saying they can't pay. What the airline have said, what the airline have said is that no, what the airline have said, not Air Cote d'Ivoire, don't quote me for Air Cote d'Ivoire, is that they will pay some certain percentage. Like
guys, you must wait for Air Cote d'Ivoire is paying.
Air Cote d'Ivoire is paying. So some airlines are saying, some Nigerian airlines are saying they are going to pay some certain percentage of the staff salary. And this is understandable. The airline industry is capital intensive and is also a thin margin airline. And like I said earlier in my submission, it is some airline are operated for PR, public relations purpose, as in to create a relationship, to transport people from one point to another, to transport goods from one point to another, to transport cargo from one point to another, and not necessarily to make profit. In this scenario, the airline that are created not to make profit will be in a bigger mess as opposed to airlines that are created to make profit. Also, mind you, most of the African airlines does not belong to the big alliances in the world, like the Star Alliance of this world, the Sky Team. Most of the African airlines does not belong to such alliances. So we do not have much strength to leverage on in this aspect.
Wow. Thank you very much, Mr. Bakare, for that wonderful submission. I would like to bring in Mr. Menon to weigh in on the argument that DDA is bringing on board. And I'm loving the mood of our discussion today. We are not actually here to do presentations. We are here to rub minds, have a conversation with the participant. I have a lot of chat. The chat room is very busy right now. Please keep sending us your questions. We're going to take them. But DDA has a strong argument. DDA and I are not on the same page on that. He has never agreed with me since this webinar started, the series started. We are on the 4th session, and DDA has never agreed. But Mr. Menon, what do you say to DDA's allegation? DDA is alleging us that the airlines right now, we shouldn't be having problem because our planes are packed, and government have given us palliatives, and then oil price is at this time the lowest. Mr. Menon, how do you weigh in on that? Let's have you. Is Mr. Menon there?
Yeah, some microphone unmuted.
Is unmuted. Is unmuted.
Yes, Mr. Menon, please check on your side.
His microphone is unmuted already.
Hello, can you hear me?
Better. Yes, we can hear you now. We can hear you now.
Okay. Technology.
And Mrs. Susan should get ready. National President of NASA. Go ahead, Mr. Menon.
Okay, now that question, I had discussions with DJ in the past as well, and I can understand where he's coming from a customer end point of view, that airlines are parked, we're not having any costs, why are we going bankrupt? And the answer is that I think if you're a billionaire, and you know that saying, you want to become a millionaire, you buy an airline. You can ask Mr. Richard about that from Virgin Atlantic. This business is capital intensive. And everybody knows that the margin is very low. In fact, if you compare the margin from a cup of Starbucks and the margin that we make, the profit margin that we make from an airline, we're making less margin by selling coffee than selling air ticket. On average, we're looking at 2% profit margin. So that's very low. And this money currently, like I said before, 49% of our costs are fixed costs. So we need to pay those costs, irrespective whether we're selling tickets or not. So this is where we have issues, Didier. And you talk about fuel, and somebody mentioned hedging. We airlines sometimes have been hedging for 6 months or more at more than $80 a barrel. And right now the price is $20. So that's where you get hit because you're hedging higher. Yeah, yes, it happens. It happens in the market. So if you look at the value chain of airlines itself, we're sitting between the airport, the GDS, and so on. We're the least profit-making entity in the whole value chain. So that's why it's very difficult for airlines to survive when we're not selling tickets at all. Didier.
Wow.
Good.
Okay.
So Didier, are you satisfied now?
Kind of, but I'm so sure, I'm convinced Madam Susan will throw in another question because I'm sure me and her are on the same side.
Madam Susan, please kindly weigh in for us from the perspective of the travel agencies and tour operators who right now have issues with refunds, reissuing, revalidations. In fact, airlines have stopped picking calls. Now you have the airlines here. Madam Susan, what do you have to say? You have the floor.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Well, I think I have an idea of what the airlines are going through because it's similar to for us, the travel agents. Yeah. It's just that when they talked about costs and everything, everybody knows what's going on. So there should be a lot of concession on that. if not a total waiver, a very big percentage waiver. The percentage income to the airlines, I quite agree, because it's similar to that of travel agents too. I mean, you issue a ticket worth 2.5 million, and if they tell you, if I tell you what comes to me from that, is usually unbelievable. When you work with contractors, you work with some government agencies, and you are here to collect your check of 10 million, everybody wants you to put down 1 million. The truth is that from that check of 10 million, you probably didn't even make up to 1 million. So the profit margin is quite low. I understand that. Then I am a very considerate person, and I study both sides because it has to be a win-win situation for everybody. Yeah. DJ, don't get me wrong. I mean, if you see me in my trials one-on-one with the airline, I know how to take it down with them. I mean, I argue with them to the last. If I know I have a good point, and if I know they're just trying to be funny. But on this, DJ, I think I feel for the airline, yeah, because I understand what is going on. I had a very long talk with a new country manager of an airline that just came in, was trying to familiarize herself with me, over an hour discussion. For the airlines, they are doing their best. The association have been able to come to some form of agreement with them. We tried doing that with IATA, but I think IATA failed us, yeah? So that's a story for another day. But on our own, we've been able to talk to the airlines as in, you call us partners. We need you to help us on this. Let's come to some form of agreement. You have made us pay you all your money. At least start doing our refunds for us, in which most of them have agreed. They've started doing, at least most of them. The refunds now, they're telling, all of them have come up with their refund policy. It's changing, they are updating it every day. So, but the bottom line still comes in the money for them to pay the refunds. Yeah. The issue of ADMs came up recently as we finished paying the airlines their money, and every day you keep seeing ADMs, almost as if you must always pay them something. I mean,
we need to bring IATA on board this webinar.
I tell you,
yeah.
It's almost as if, oh, finally I've paid all the airlines. Right now I'm not owing any airline any money. So let me just sit down on my own and strategizing on how I'm going to start up again. And every day, oh, ADM, one issue or the other, one ADM or the other, almost as if you will keep paying and paying. And I have to send a mail to all the airlines. What's wrong with you guys? You asked us to pay you all your money, and we have done that. I mean, give us something back. Ease up on the ADMs. Ease up on the ADMs until business starts, until we start making money. Then you can now start sending in the ADM. I got a few response from some of them saying they would do same. So our airlines in Nigeria, operating in Nigeria, I must say kudos to them. They have listening ear to the agents, and they are willing to always meet us in the middle, meet us somewhere, some form of agreement. But there was something that came up in the discussion I had this morning. We're not one of the big airlines in Nigeria. When I talked about, you guys didn't respond to my letter of easing up the ADMs, because our members are still getting ADMs upon ADMs. Some ADMs are as good as large as the cost of a ticket, a business class ticket. What is going on? And the explanation I got was I think I was very satisfied with sometimes if you don't engage somebody, you will not know. And she took her time to explain, look, Susan, we have this, there's some of these agencies that have this ADM is because of the fact that they are paying refunds. You see, an agent that she just finished dealing with last week has a refund of about 27 million all put together. And the headquarters calls in. I was like, where are you going to get the money to pay this 27 million? And they've been paying. And guess what? An agency with a refund of 27 million having an ADM of 1.5. So, I mean, she told me it's just normal. I mean, if I have to pay you your refund, then I have to collect whatever it is that I have with you too, since I'm paying your refunds. So when she said that, I said, oh yeah, I think I understand then. I mean, if you have paid somebody 27 million in refunds and the person has an ADM of 1.5, oh yeah, go ahead and give it to the person, let the person pay after you've paid him 27 million. So it's a win-win situation. But so what we agreed with that airline was that because we always want a win-win situation, I understand the liquidity of cash is both ways. Even for us travel agency, we are very low in liquidity right now. What we eventually came to agree on is for them not to stop the refunds from coming. They agreed that those that have a lot of refunds in the system, they are not going to halt their ADMs. Their ADMs will probably still go because they will not have any means of defending paying of that refunds, because headquarters will keep asking them, I mean, there is no money to pay. We have a lot of money stocked there and you're paying, and we have to also get some form of money back. And we agreed that, okay, a win-win situation, the ones that don't even have any refunds at all, do not send them any ADM until they start making money. So that's the middle ground that we've been able to come to, which I can relate to it. And I think if it's me, for example, an airline pays me a refund of 27 million and sends me an ADM of 1 million, I don't think I will complain, because at least I've gotten some form of money back from them. So I always believe in talking, in discussing. When you discuss with your partners, you better understand each other. And when you understand each other, you can come to a form of compromise, some form of compromise that will be a win-win situation, as long as the other partner keeps to the end of the bargain. That was the compromise we thought we came with IATA. But unfortunately, when it was time for them to keep to the end of the bargain, and they disappointed us really bad. They disappointed us 100%. And the travel community in Nigeria as it is, we are not happy with IATA. We are not, because we went through a lot to come to a win-win agreement, and they failed on their word. And this agreement that I'm talking about, it was documented. It wasn't a verbal agreement. It was an agreement that was documented by a letter from IATA. And when the time came, they failed on the agreement. And when we approached them and tried to challenge them, the story changed, that we really didn't understand the terms of the agreement. And I'm like, this agreement was not written in French or Spanish. It was written in English. And I think I went to school to some extent to understand English. And my letter was written to you in English. And they were like, okay, they will write us another letter explaining properly the first letter. Did they? As I'm telling you, this has been 2 weeks. That letter has not come. So we just decided to dump IATA and decide to relate with the airlines one-on-one. And relating with the airlines one-on-one, it has proved helpful for us in Nigeria.
Kudos to the airlines. Kudos to the African airlines. All right, Didier, you agree with me that we need to bring IATA on board this webinar to defend themselves? What do you say about that? Madam Susa here, as they call them out. But I think this conversation is very interesting, because I know Madam Susa is not actually having to call out the IATA for just no reason. Looking at what she has said, the airlines have been supportive. IATA has not been supportive. But I want to believe that is Madam Susan's perspective. Probably upcoming in the next series of webinars, we will be bringing in IATA. So I want to bring on board someone in the house. This person is an expert in mice. And this is somebody that we'll be bringing on board next week, actually, on our edition, which is coming up next week, with focus on mice in Africa. So I want you to indulge me to make this conversation robust, more insightful, and more impactful. Let me bring on board Mrs. Edna Hogan from the Tanzanian Chamber of Commerce International, based in Dublin, but operating in the United States and Tanzania. Mrs. Edna, you have the floor. Yeah, you are being unmuted now. Yes, you are unmuted now.
Hello, Doctor. I think you unmuted me, not Edna.
Oh, I unmuted you? Oh,
yes. Not
that's
Edna.
the bug that we are trying to sort out with Zoom, the name box. We are having serious issue with the name box. Okay, Mrs. Edna, if you are in the house, please Raise up your hand. Mr. Christopher, can you lower your hand, please? This is Edna from Tanzania Chamber of Commerce International, an expert in mice, who actually I want to connect with Madam Susan because she has told me she wants to actually connect with the African market. These are African-focused people, partners internationally who are actually interested, committed, and passionate about Africa. So while we are waiting for her in the house, I want to bring back Dr. Gabriel. Dr. Gabriel, is he still with us? Madam Susan, is Dr. Gabriel still in the house? Yes. Dr. Gabriel. Yes. Dr. Gabriel, looking at African governments on this issue, there is a comment by one of our participants in the house who have said here that we should talk about intra-Africa travel trade. Actually, before now, you have been an advocate of the SAATM, which we have actually dedicated another section for, coming up as the last session in this month of May. We have a session focusing on African governments, the single air African travel market, and visa policies. I hope to bring you back on board then once again, Dr. Gabriel, on that edition. But what do you say right now? Where is the role of the SAATM, Single African Air Travel Market, in intra-African travel trade post-COVID-19? You have the floor, sir. Dr. Gabriel.
Yeah, thanks, my dear brother, Captain Emmanuel. Before I answer your question on this, because of time, I noted one or two points while they were talking about, Susan was talking about agency world, and I wanted to quickly chip in the lesson learned from COVID.
Go ahead, sir.
While we were facing the challenges of airlines. Lesson learned from COVID for airlines. Number one, our airlines must begin to pay attention to all commercial payload. I repeat, all commercial payload. What do I mean by commercial payload? We have a lot of emphasis on passenger traffic. And here we are. Passenger traffic has faced a lot of issues. Cargo does not. All other elements of commercial payload does not. So it will be wise coming out of COVID to develop, if possible, a higher attention on cargo sales, which will not catch COVID. Unlike that tree my brother was talking about that was tested positive to COVID, will not test positive to disease and things like that. If commercial payload, cargo, for instance, had been 60% to passenger payload 40, maybe this problem would not be this high. So African airlines are encouraged to develop entire commercial payload so that if one has a problem, the other one will help the economics. Number two is about Susan and IATA. I strongly believe that airlines cannot be separated from IATA. IATA is the airlines and airlines are the IATA. So if you are trying to play divide and rule among the airlines, you have to be very careful because IATA is an association of airlines, just like you have the NANTA, Association of Travel Agents. So whenever you hear IATA speak, the airlines are speaking. So if any airline plays anything behind the game, that is hypocrisy. You have to be very careful of hypocrisy. IATA has done very well for the industry, and they're still doing well because an industry that remains divided can never move. So what IATA has done is to make sure that the industry moves together. So if there are issues, let's get to the bottom of that problem with IATA. They have a number one man, get to their DG. If it is not enough, the people overseeing Africa or Nigeria are not doing it right, get to the highest level because you are a stakeholder. So let me now address SATIM. SATIM is as needed as yesterday. For the airlines, we need it, but we are not taking right actions. we are not collaborating. We are still competing. The more we compete, the more certain we not work. We need to collaborate and cooperate. All this parasitic competition by various, I call them very, very small operators, will not make certain work. From the airline side, our governments still think there is what they call sovereignty. Aviation is breaking borders and telecom is breaking borders. And so we need to see less of this as sovereignty, because if we continue to think of our borders, technology doesn't recognize borders anymore. If we must develop strong economic standard for Africa, especially on the West African coast, all this segregation has to leave our mindset. Our operators, our governments, BASA is no longer an issue. So still talking about all this BASA, MASA is no longer an issue. If 2, 3, 4, 5 West African airlines come together, if we can revisit what we have in our Air Afrique, Captain, we used to have Air Afrique. We used to have Air Afrique, a conglomerate of airlines in the region where everybody were members, and that was a thick airline.
So what happened to Air Afrique?
Oh, that's a story for another day. It's a story for another day. You know, government in democracy are beginning to appreciate business, and businesses is the foundation or the key. They are the key backbone of any government. So government will pay less attention to bureaucracy. They will pay more attention to economics and the power of business. And so all this sovereign issue, we will pay less on it and look at the advantage of doing business together. When we see advantage of doing business together, imagine if we develop the African solution to COVID-19, like we mentioned, alternate medicine, and the whole world realized that we are solving the problem. You can imagine the cargo business that will evolve, either by air or by sea. Once we tested it and it's solving our problem in Africa, you can imagine the cargo business that will follow. And all we need to do is play down on our sovereign issues and all come together and say, yeah, this is coming from Madagascar, it is endorsed by Africa, it is solving our problem, and it becomes a solid product.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gabriel, for that. Now, the Zoom bug is getting fixed. I think people's names are coming up now on Zoom. I am not taking it lightly with Zoom, so my team on ground, thank you, kudos. Now, let me bring on Madam Edna Liyatuhuga from the Tanzanian Chamber of Commerce International, based in Dublin, but also with offices in United States of America and Tanzania, our own Tanzania in East Africa. And Madam Susan, I'd like you guys to connect. So, Mrs. Edna, you have the floor now.
Yes, I am. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome, Edna. How you doing?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Greetings from Dublin here.
Wow, live from Dublin. You are live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Listen, I've been here. I've been listening to contributors, and thank you so much. It's actually quite a very interesting discussion. Very useful as well, given the times we're in at the moment. And I was very impressed when somebody mentioned about our President Magufuli's recent speech. Very popular, if I may say so. I think it's gone viral about whenever you test avocados, you test the pawpaw, everything comes positive. There's a very good point actually on that, if I may add on that. That is very true, because I think we have to be very careful. We shouldn't trust everything that is imported to our continent from outside, because you don't know what's the motive behind. So I'm very happy in a way that our president actually had the guts to raise that in public, and everyone, many countries actually, many African countries have been alarmed and go like, wow, fair play to President Magufuli to raise that, because it's something very important. We all have to really look into that very carefully, because we need to take care of our own people, to be honest. As I've been introduced there, I'm the president of I'm the CEO of the Tanzania Chamber of Commerce in Europe, but we're headquartered in Dublin. And we also have offices in New York with our parent chamber, and in Africa for the offices in Tanzania. So we work with a number of businesses in, traveling.
Madam Edna, we are losing your audio.
I see her microphone is muted.
Microphone
Madam
muted.
Edna, if you can hear us, please unmute your microphone.
Okay, my team just told me that she's been unmuted now.
So I was just thinking maybe.
Back.
Hello?
We lost you earlier, so welcome back now. We were talking about what you do. Yes, we were talking about what you do and your plans for Africa.
Exactly. So as you know, like what you're doing now, this conference, before many years ago, it wouldn't have been possible. And this is because technology is the way forward. For example, at the moment with our chamber, we have a number of projects we're doing. And one of them is actually promoting the cultures of Africa. And we have, for example, Swahili spoken widely in many African countries. So from tourism for our clients, now we're actually trying to teach them the cultures, the language. These companies in Western world, they're coming to do business in Africa. They're coming to invest, tourism, and so forth and so on. So it's important now maybe to use this opportunity and organize such as maybe classes, topics, different topics that can educate them and make them ready to do business in Africa. I think it's so important now, because when you go to countries like Germany or other countries, I've been lucky to travel so many countries, you are expected to learn the culture of the place, the language as well. I think it's it's about maybe in Africa, we should start to promote that. For example, if someone wants to come and do a business in Nigeria, you have many languages there, so maybe they should at least master one of them. I mean, to integrate very well, and positive integration is very key. And that's what it's promoted in developed world as well. For example, in Africa, I know Swahili, as you guys know, it's spoken in Western, Central, and Southern Africa. Many African countries speak Swahili. Even Prince William is a big fan of the language, and he's learning that language. So now we're promoting that, and it's very popular. We have so many people all over the world who have signed up, and we're conducting these classes. Not only that, we're also teaching them about the beauty of African countries. For example, if you have a tour company, let's say if you are promoting certain parts of, let's say, Ghana or Ivory Coast, whatever it may be, Mauritius, we actually use this platform to promote that as well, because as a Chamber of Commerce, our job is to promote tourism, attract investment, and promote cultures, anything that is possible, and it's for the good of African continent. And that's why we work with so many companies across Africa, because we have a big market in Europe and also in American market as well. And also we are in talks to develop a good base and strong presence in Asia as well. So I think we're in a point where we can actually link together. I know you mentioned about Susan. I'll be more than happy to talk to Susan and other people as well, how we can engage together and we can share ideas and experiences. I'm based over here, but I work with so many big and small companies in developed world as well as in developing countries as well. So I think now COVID is here, we should not be sad. I mean, I know it's sad and it's really big. It's a big problem to many communities across the globe, but maybe we should grab this opportunity. Many people say some of the biggest businesses in the world were formed or established during crisis in the world. So maybe we should, as Africans, we should use this opportunity to think about aviation. Why when there's any natural disaster, aviation sector is affected heavily? Why tourism, for example, now? Because, for example, in terms of tourism, is because I think we relied heavily on, outbound, tourism. Let's now start promoting heavily on inbound, in-house tourism. Let's encourage people, our own people within our own countries, to visit our, attractions, tourist attractions. We don't need to rely on Wazungu. We call them Wazungu in my country. We don't need to rely on Westerners to come and give us, to help our tourism sector. Of course, they contribute heavily, but we can also do a big part ourselves. We can also start believing in ourselves and start promoting that. In Tanzania, we started that, and Kenya as well, where they came up with packages encouraging students and parents to visit the national parks, visit all the other beauties in the countries. I think we can do that in other countries as well. And also in terms of culture, like what I said, languages, in terms of businesses, we can connect with these multinationals via technology online. It's the way forward now, guys. Like whether you like it or not, it's here to stay. I'll give an example. I know a few people were helping.
Edna, thank you very much. We're actually behind schedule right now on this webinar call. And I want to believe that I'm bringing you back next week, Madam Edna.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Absolutely.
Yes. Next week you'll be coming on board when we are focusing on mice in Africa, and I'm going to allow you and your team to have the floor and tell us about your future plans for mice in Africa properly. So we really appreciate you for coming on and for that insightful solution you have just brought up. Focusing on Africa is what we need right now. Madam Edna, thank you very much. Live
no
from
problem,
Dublin,
thank you. My pleasure. Yeah.
When you come next week, we want to have your video, okay?
Sorry, what did you say?
We'd like to have your video when you are coming next week.
Yes, of course, you'll have me on video. Sorry, today I couldn't for some unavoidable reasons.
All right.
Next week, definitely I'll be on video. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Thank you, Madam Edna.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. So at this point, my dear esteemed participant and highly revered panelist, my chief moderator, we have confirmed, my webinar team have confirmed that we have our panel member from African World Airlines in the house, Mr. Kingsley Chima, the country manager of African World Airlines. But the other earlier we were having name box on Zoom, so we couldn't have him. He's on board right now. So if you can hear me, Mr. Kingsley Chima, can you please raise up your hand so that we can identify you? Because I can't find Kingsley here on this platform. Or maybe you want to rename yourself. My webinar team on ground recognizes you as Kingsley Chima. That's the name we have. So either you rename yourself or you raise up your hand so we can unmute you. Didier, can you see him? Oh, yes, here he is.
Yes.
Here he is. All right. So, Mr. Chuma, welcome on board. From the perspective of African World Airlines, and you told me you'll be listening from the inception, you've been in the house. Please, you have opened domestic operations in Ghana. Why did you do that? And was that financially, economically, was that a wise decision? You have the floor now.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Kingsley Chima, not Chuma actually, Chima.
Oh, apologies for that.
No problem. Okay, sorry, let me greet my boss, Dr. Gabriel Olowo. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, you asked question on our reopening domestic flights in Ghana. Okay.
Yes, go ahead, please.
When you say we reopen domestic flight, it looks as if it's our decision to reopen, but we've been working with the government of Ghana and with input from IATA and ICAO. There's this IATA ICAO Aviation Recovery Task Force, which is actually working on how to restart aviation worldwide. In that task force, Ghana and Ethiopia are the ones representing Africa in the task force. So a lot of works are being done in that aspect to make sure the markets are reopened. Yeah, it's been a collaboration between us and the government of Ghana. We've been talking on a daily basis, reviewing activities, looking at procedures, protocols, reviewing same, and anywhere a decision is made, we take the next step. And that's why, we started operation based on what the government told us to do and input from IATA. So that's what you're asking about, the economic part of it.
Yes. Was that economically viable?
we can't say yes or no now because we started on the 1st of May, but it's looking good. Passengers are returning, and you know, we adopted the what do you call it again? The social distancing on board, which is subject to review soon because IATA is looking at that. And also IATA, ICAO, Aviation Recovery Task Force, they've come out with the document. I don't know if you saw that, that came out on the 5th, which said there are no established infection on board of an aircraft from day one till date. None have been established. Even the cases in Nigeria today, we remember the guys that came in, they will tell you if you're on so-so flights, present yourself. None of them, except ones who have already gotten it before they boarded. Nobody has been infected on any flight. So those research are still going on. So maybe that will affect the social distancing that we are currently doing. Like currently we are doing about, we are giving about 65% of our flight capacity to operate. That's what the government of Ghana gave us.
65%, that's a lot.
About that. So that's when considering the social distancing. And luckily for us, the type of seat configuration we have, and you know, when you leave the middle seats empty, that's what we get. But all the same, as I said earlier, I wouldn't say if it's economically favorable at this time because this is just the 7th day. But the loads are good compared to what we actually expected because we thought there would be apathy by the traveling public, but people are traveling.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Kingsley. Dr. Olowo, I want you to weigh in on AWA's decision to come back to domestic operation on the financial side and on the health side. Was it
For me, our decision is very positive as long as safety is guaranteed. Health and safety is guaranteed. I'm sure they've taken all that into consideration before going back to the skies. And HF and AWA, they are leading that in Africa. And I hope and pray that there'll be no need to go back. Once they continue like that, that will help other countries, that will help other airlines. So I give it to HF, Air Cote d'Ivoire, and I give it to AWA. You know, these are trailblazers. They're leading by this good example. I'm sure all care, all caution must have been taken that the health of passengers, of course, they are passengers themselves. They have their life on board. Nobody wants to die. So any airline operator will not take safety and health issue for granted. Having said that, economics, it will take off gradually. 65% load factor is not bad. I'm sure elements of cost, especially in the area that I emphasize, fuel-wise, must have been taken into consideration by them. They must have seen their figures. And you can only grow from 65 because that will stimulate other customer confidence. With 65, people see 65%, they're going and coming, there is no COVID. Before you know it, they will be having 99%. And they will begin to think of increasing frequency. Difficult times actually is the best time to maximize your economics. If things are well done, this is the time to make a lot of money. During wars are the time some businesses, they really do well. So I say well done, and I hope the Nigerian Airlines will join very soon once the curve begin to flatten out.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Kingsley, I want to ask you finally, and this is going to be your closing remark. We're rounding up this webinar in 10 minutes. This is 10 minutes to 5 p.m. Africa Lagos time. Mr. Kingsley, your decision to open up, apart from the fact that it was a government decision, IATA is in support, does it have anything to do with the current COVID-19 cases you have? Probably Nigeria can't open up our domestic operations because we still have cases. Is your decision connected in any way to the your ability to manage the surge of new cases. How about that? What's your opinion on that?
Okay, first, let me just make another comment referencing what Dr. Olowo said about growth. We started on the 1st, and what we did was a flight to 2 key destinations in Ghana. But as of 2 days ago, we've doubled those flights because we saw everything was looking well, and we've doubled those flights. We're no more, we are doing now, you can go the same day and come back the same day. So we can do return flights on a day. So that's on the side. On the decision, we have no control over what government is doing as per combating or managing COVID-19 cases in Ghana. Yes, government will look at their own side, see how if they believe in what they are doing, and they believe that is going well on their part. Because we cannot influence them to open the airspace, so they look at what is available and what they are doing, the activities, and also what we have been advised to do, and we're able to do those. The protocols that were advised by the health ministry, protocol that were advised by IATA, we did those to government. Government came and look at it and saw that we're very well compliant with what they've advised. Also, the Ghana Airport Company did a lot. The government wanted them to do a lot of things. They did it. Government inspected the health officers. The whole airports were decontaminated. There were protocols established. They came and monitored these protocols. There were demos, and they saw that these things actually work. That was when actually the airport should have been opened 2 weeks earlier. But the Ghana Airport Company came back that they were not ready in 1 or 2 airports. So we have to wait for them to do that. Then the health guys also came up that they needed personnel to man 1 or 2 positions, which was later established. Then the airports were opened.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kingsley, for that submission. Now, Didier, I'd like you to bring in our panel members one after the other to give us their closing remarks, their final thoughts for whatever points that has been mentioned in the house. And mind you, Didier, Mr. Menon dropped you a very big one in the chat room, still on the argument of airline economics and the palliatives.
Thank you so much. And then on this note, I would like to sincerely thank all our panelists for joining us, not only for that, but for giving us your precious time. Now, this conversation or this discussion, you'll agree with me, we cannot finish it in this session. We can't deal with. So we'll still have to be on your case again, depending on when we'll agree to go on or continue on this topic again. Now, as you make your closing remarks on the topic of aviation in Africa post-COVID-19, I also want you to touch, all of you, one thing you've mentioned, especially on the question that was raised by me, but concerned by many, actually, that is how it got to me. I'm just a reporter, of course, being one of the moderators of the session. The finances issue, which goes ahead, which gets taken ahead to service the now. Post-COVID-19, if governments, if Africa, if airlines start deciding we can start like African World Airline, we can start flying. Now you have no money. Of course, you will open for sales, but people can start booking. Some can book today, but to fly February next year. Some can book today and only to fly whichever. But when you open, you need to fly tomorrow. You need to fly next week.
Yeah.
Can you also, in your closing remarks, tell us what would be how our airline preparing for that in terms of starting? Should the world wake up to a great news, as in vaccine from Madagascar, it's working perfectly, even the World Health Organization accept, and then everybody will rush to be out there, including airlines. Where would you start? what would be the strategy and how would we go about it? Like Captain Emmanuel said, you may touch on everything on your closing remarks, but people need to know if you are still ready, or you will say no. Yes, there is vaccine now, but we can only start 2 months later because people have to book and pay first. Now, let me start first with Cote d'Ivoire, Mr. Bakare, on your closing remark on this point, on the session.
Yes, as a proactive airline, we, despite the fact that
2
we're not
minutes
flying,
maximum. 2 minutes
2
time.
minutes
2
each.
minutes. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
As a proactive airline, despite the fact that we're not flying, we're still doing a lot of strategy session on way forward post COVID-19, because we are aware that the pandemic will soon be over. It's something that we don't have control over. It's something that is affecting the world all over, and the solution will soon be in sight, God willing. So the next thing is that post COVID-19, there will be a lot of issues for the airline in terms of marketing mix. The variables has to be worked on. The marketing structure has to change to reflect the reality of the day. Most African countries are currently experiencing economic downturn as a result of the COVID. Mind you, for some of the countries in Africa, because of the slump in oil, like Nigeria, Angola, and others, that's already affecting us. So before even the COVID, we're already having a lot of challenges within our own economy. But post-COVID, the airlines are able to respond and introduce products that meet the reality of the day, especially for the budget traveler. Some new market segments will emerge, while some market segments, such as business travel, will be impacted as a result of the COVID. Like technology will take over some aspects of business travel. But in terms of travel, some segment of the market, new segments will emerge, and people will still travel, because traveling is part and parcel of human life. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Bakare. Now, Mr. Menon, your closing remarks on that. And thanks for clarifying in a very simple term, using Uber as an example. Thank you so much.
Needed, Didi. That was needed for you. Thank you, Mr. Menon, for doing that.
No, pleasure. Closing remarks, I would like to say that we Africans, we don't fear viruses. We know, we learn to live with them. So I'm very optimistic that the African travel and tourism sector will grow back very quickly, but intra-Africa for the time being, on short to medium term. So airlines should look within themselves and say, how can we collaborate? How can we fast track SATAM? How can we build alliances among ourselves to take advantage of the growth in travel that will happen within Africa? So we should stop relying over the West, over travel from the US, from the Europe. We should definitely look at building trade and passenger movement within the different countries on the continent itself. So that's my take.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate. We all want that. We can't be always depending on the outside world. When they feel we should go, we go. When they feel we stop, we stop. We should be able to dictate when we want to go and when we want to stop. That's very, very good. Mr. Isaiah, Christopher, what can you tell us on these closing remarks?
Mr. Saya?
Can you unmute him, please, Captain Emmanuel?
Okay, please raise up your hand, Mr. Isaiah. We can't find you. Raise up your hand so we can unmute you. Thank you. Just use the raise hand button. Thank you very much. So we are unmuting you now.
No, he's still
Okay.
Great.
He's unmuted
now. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. What I like to say in the event that answering your question, Didier, in the event that they say everything is fine, they found the vaccine, and people can go about their normal business. As it is with starting a new route,
because doctor said, doctor said that you operate in a borrowed money, prepaid.
Basically, for us, we will not put a flight for tomorrow. It means that you have to schedule a flight. Like going into starting a new route, you need to put the flight on the system and start selling. In this case, it might not take that length of time. It might be a week, or to prepare. And will not go. You might have a route where you operate 7 times a week. You might want to start with 3 flights, a week because of the numbers of people you want. You already have a lot of people who you issue vouchers with, who you have suspended tickets with. So they might want to come back on those routes. And that depends on if other routes too, where these people are going to, are open. But another thing too to consider, for the airlines is collaboration. We have to look at partnership. We all don't have to go to the same route if the numbers are very little. One airline can do that route, and another, or you look at existing code shares, and how can you maximize those code share where one airline is the marketing carrier, one is the operating carrier. And you look at how can we make the most of our alliances, which is why alliances are there. You want to make the most out of your alliances and partnership with those carriers. Yes, we can all sell on this flight, but this airline will move the people there, and that way we will not be flying empty seat and fumigating the horizon with our very expensive fuel. But one thing for me is, one thing I know for sure that will be the game changer is tourism. We need to start stimulating the market. We know that we're going to lose the corporate market a great deal. But one other market where we can use to stimulate travel is the leisure market. We can do that through partnership with the tour operators, and all of this, and have those branded fares, where you have all in one package. And we can sell, and get people to start going. And that's with the airline doing their bit in sanitizing, ensuring that the people feel safe to fly again, putting all of those in perspective and stimulating, because now we need to start be in the face of the people by sending them visuals, about destinations that they can do. We need to stimulate travel intra-Africa. There are destinations where you can actually pick your bag, today, and say you're going tomorrow. At their visa on arrival, we need to encourage all of those travel and ensure that Africa airspace is served. It's actually currently underserved now. We can make the most of our own continent, by ensuring that people are sensitized on this destination, because a lot of people do not know. Even prior to COVID, some people think, oh, if I have to go to Mauritius, I need to have 200,000 for visa. They don't know it's $50. We need to sensitize them that with $50 you can get into Mauritius. With $200, you can have a hotel for each night, and you're staying there. So we need to sensitize. We need to create the awareness. It is not only on the airline. It is both for the GDS companies. It is, whatever we're doing, we need to up it, and increase our vehemence, on those platforms to ensure that we get the people, get them interested in wanting to travel. And the starting point too is not far-fetched. You don't have to go on the internet. Your neighbor has traveled before. Your neighbors, have they traveled? The people on your children's PTA, have they traveled? You can sell all of this. You don't need to go far to preach the gospel of tourism. You need to start from your house,
for travel agencies and
operators. Yes. So it's our collective responsibility to make sure that we get the industry off the ground. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Menon, you promised to bring me to Mauritius. I haven't forgotten that. Mr. Menon, I'm very interested in Mauritius, okay?
Yeah, we made some promises too. That's why we need just to open up, we need to move around. All right, so let's hear.
Let's bring in Dr. Olowo.
Doctor, remember
the grandfather.
There is no money if we have to start tomorrow. You said because, and not everyone is going to book quickly. People will hold.
If we have to start tomorrow, I can tell you there is money.
Oh.
Airlines have a way of solving problems. Airlines all over the world, including those airlines, one of my colleagues said, they are not floated to make profits. You'll be
Including
surprised
those that are saying they can't pay people because there's no money.
They're not operating to make money. I don't know who's operating not to make money, but there'll be money. I can assure you, if the air is ready tomorrow, somebody will be out there to bail out that operator. I remember sometimes in those days, you see a passenger coming out for an airline that has a problem, FX problem, and the passenger will come with his credit card and fuel the aircraft. So you'll be surprised the money will be out there to help the airline. On closing, Captain Emmanuel, you are no longer a captain. You have become an economist. you are an aviation economist. And what you've done this afternoon, I'm really impressed. And I want to thank you for bringing me on board. You have fulfilled the aspirations of Aviation Safety Roundtable. And our major objective in that place is to bring minds together and try to share experiences and knowledge. The day you don't share knowledge, that's the day you are in your coffin. Knowledge is power and is key. And what you've just done this afternoon, this is the 4th edition, you said. I would be glad to join you again and again. And I want to invite all these panels and people listening to me to please visit Aviation Safety Roundtable website, ARTNG. Visit that website and see this kind of thing we've done over about 4 years now. And all our resolutions are there. It is a library where people can learn. I invite you to join if you can, cooperate as individual, and that will really foster knowledge in African aviation. My dear sister, NANTA President Susan, my heart goes to you and your association. I know you guys are leading, but my key advice for NANTA going forward, ADM is as a result of not doing things right. The airlines want it done like this, you do it differently. The only solution to help you is technology. Choose the right technology. As you try to do this, if you have the right machine, it will not let you do it. All those airlines regulations that you are about to violate, the right technology won't let you do it. And once you don't do it, there's no ADM. I don't want to market anybody, but I know you won't know what I'm talking about. Choose the right technology, you won't do it wrong, and the airlines will be happy with you. There'll be no ADM. I salute everybody in the house, and I enjoyed the session. I will join you again and again. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much, sir. Good afternoon to you. Thanks for those words of encouragement. Thank you very much. And I hope right now I am already an inducted member of the Aviation Safety Roundtable by virtue of your pronouncement on this webinar. Thank you very much. Thank you for mentoring and motivating people like us, younger generation coming after you. You have been mentoring us in the distance. We are following closely since 2017. I've been following you. Thank you very much for being here. I am looking forward to this session where we are talking about African government, SATIM, and visa policies on May 28th. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Bye-bye.
So,
bye.
Bye, sir. Bye. Thank you for being here. We want to really use this time to appreciate Didier. We must appreciate Dr. Olowo for staying up till now. He's a very busy person. And also, Didier, we left out Rand here because we couldn't find Mr. Mahmoud in the house. And I would want us to have a closing remark from one of the representatives of Rand Air in the house. Mr. Olushile, if he's in the house, can you please raise up your hand? Use the raise hand button so my webinar team on ground can unmute your mic. Didier, how come we left out Rand here? You brought in the country manager for West Africa.
We didn't. Rande was supposed to be in the house. I will try to still get in contact. Some point you saw I was on the phone. I tried to call the second in command direct. And then they actually said they were trying to get hold of him and still send me the message that is completely offline or unreachable. It might be something unexpected, but I'll get more clarity. And including the commitment of when he will be able to be with us in the house. But we did receive full confirmation.
For confirmation. Okay, in his absence, Mr. Olushile, the representative of Rand Air Nigeria, is in the house. So we would like to take your closing remark and your thought on behalf of Rand Air. Please raise up your hand, use the raise hand button. So our webinar team, who is up, they are also on ground in this meeting, can unmute your mic. We need to hear your closing remark. Apologies. So, Didier, who else is on the list of their closing remark other than Madame Souza, the NANTA president herself? So,
the next
can you bring
person
her on?
Would be yourself. would
Thank
be
you, Didier, for
myself.
your support.
Madam Susan is the Oga at the top. When the Oga speaks, then it's just time after that, then you get up and move and go. So
Exactly.
you have nothing to add or to conclude. I guess all our distinguished guests and panelists have said their closing remarks. And is there, unless if I forget anybody, but I doubt, I don't think so.
Madam Susan, are you there?
Susan is still in the house. Yes.
I'm here.
Yeah. So on my side, I would like to thank everybody, including yourself. And without you, this wouldn't be possible. Just your humble servants, the son of Africa.
Didier. Thank you, Didier.
The African tourism expert in the house, and then also, of course, the marketing manager for Africa and Indian Ocean at Sun International here in South Africa. Don't forget, you can always reach us on our social media. You can always drop us your question. We will be able to answer as much as we can. And we looking forward. That one of 28th of May, we trying by all means, Captain, to bring as high as possible of government officials.
Exactly.
We need to get the tourism authority. Let's do that. That is the mission we have to do for that session. So please share this. As you see, the All of Africa is in the house. We support so much. We need to decide what is good for Africa. If Europe or America say that they don't believe in the Madagascar Artemisia plant, but if it's working for us, then it's working. We don't need to wait until they say that now it's working. No, it's working for us. We accept it and we go with it. Other African countries are collecting their convoys already. So yeah, and let's stand all together and make Africa move forward. That is our own land, and it is our duty and prerogative to make it a safe place to be. Thank you, and good evening.
Thank you, Didier, for that insightful, power-packed remark, always from you. You are always fully loaded. Madam Susan.
Yes.
Please, let's have your closing remark.
Thank you very
much. And after you, I'll bring in African World Airlines, Mr. Kingsley, for his closing remarks too. Go ahead, Madam Susan.
Thank you very much, Captain Emmanuel. Thank you, Didier. Thank you, Menon. I learned so much. Learning is something that we always, if you find yourself in a learning environment, no matter how vast you are, there's always going to be one thing you're going to learn. And I think I've learned a lot today, especially in the operations of the airlines. I mean, and I'm sure Didi also learned that very vital lesson on the operations from the airline.
Yes, I did.
So we have learned that. And thank you, Menon, for making me know that Mauritius visa is as low as $50. Wow. Then why am I not in Mauritius? Immediately the sky is open. You will definitely see me there.
Yeah, Mauritius, where we come.
You definitely see me there. But
and it's on arrival, I think. I didn't even know, but well, it's for free. We go in for free. I didn't know even they were paying.
I was aware of the arrival. I was aware of the arrival, but I didn't know it was as low as $50 and all that. So thank you for that information. You can be sure that will be the next destination for me. And one thing I'm also very happy at, I must also thank everybody, all the African airlines that are there. Bakare, Abiola, thank you so much. I think your name is mixed up now, but the thank you for what you guys
Mr.
are
Kingsley,
doing.
Chima.
Yeah, Mr. Kingsley, thank you for all you guys are doing in Ghana for spearheading the opening of the skies for Africa as a whole. Thank you so much for that. And I also want to thank everybody for sharing in this vision of Africans traveling Africa. You see, this COVID-19, depending on how we look at it, it can be a blessing in disguise. For too long, Africa has been under some form of colonization. I mean, modern day colonization. I mean, they will have to cough before we can follow. But now we're all talking about, guess what? I mean, we can do our own thing. We can do it ourselves. Let's follow the same measure. So I'm happy and excited that everybody's talking about it. For those that know me, I mean, I always start from home. I like starting from home. And I want to use my closing remark to challenge every African that is in this platform to join the tourism challenge. I don't know if you've heard about it, because if we have to be traveling Africa, if Africans have to travel Africa, we have to know Africa. You do not travel a destination that you do not know. So I want to challenge everybody. Menon from Mauritius, take this message out to Mauritius. D-Day, you are aware of the tourism challenge. Please push it in South Africa. And I'm also talking to a lot of my friends and colleagues in South Africa. What is it about? Tourism challenge. Let your members begin to talk about your country.
By the way, Madam Susan, sorry to jump in there.
Yes.
I saw a list that was published of the top 10 travelers of us to Nigeria. South Africa sits on number 8. So we do travel to Nigeria.
Exactly. So I'm throwing out that tourism challenge, even though the tourism challenge was started in Nigeria, and the whole idea is to encourage Nigerians to travel within Nigeria, pending when we are comfortable to go out. But now we are talking about even when Nigerians start going out, the Western world might not be ready for us yet. But I'm happy. I mean, Ghana is here. They are saying they are ready once the skies are open. Mauritius is here. They say you are ready. Cote d'Ivoire is here. Kenya Airways is here. We say we are ready. So also, I'm moving that tourism challenge beyond Nigeria. And I'm challenging every African that is here in
Didier, are we losing Madam Susan?
Yes, we are. She's playing
that
guitar.
Message for Africa. That message she has for Africa is very important.
Very
important. The tourism challenge should become an African tourism challenge.
And let's begin to know about our destination. What is that destination about Mauritius that I need to be there?
Madam Susan, your sound is, it's like the connection. It was breaking up badly at some point.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Much better.
Yeah.
Okay, so my closing remark is I'm extending the tourism challenge beyond Nigeria to the entire Africa. Now, let the challenge begin. We can do this. Africans traveling Africa. Let all the videos begin to come in. Do a challenge, start a challenge. Mr. Menon, start a challenge in Mauritius. Let your members, tour operators, do 2-3 minutes video of their best location in Mauritius. Let it begin to flood all the media social handles. Let us begin to learn about our destination, because the more we know about Africa as a destination, the more we'll be encouraged to travel within Africa. Thank you very much, and God bless everybody. And as you're making this video, please tag me in the video. Tag me in the video so that we can spread the message of Africa around Africa, the beautiful destinations that we have in Africa, to encourage our members to begin to go there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Susan, for that powerful one.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Kingsley Chima, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Please, let's have your closing remarks. Thank you.
Okay. First of all, I know my first time on this webinar, and I heard you've done 3 or 4 before now. So I'm privileged to be part of it today and to sit on the same platform with my former boss, and still my boss, Dr. Gabriel Olowo. I would say first, the oil price of today is an aberration. It's not real. Nobody should count on that because the planes are packed, the cars are packed, the industries are shut down. So who is using the oil? So when activities start, we know the real price of oil. Secondly, on the tourism side, as mentioned by Madam Susan, is very key. Africa needs to think being African. And I think that's one thing we at Africa World try to project. You know, we try to encourage partnership, collaboration with our people here. As Dr. Olowo said earlier, the competitiveness we have within us should not be parasitic. We should be more cooperative and collaborating with each other. Both tourism, both airlines, tour operators, everybody should work together to promote Africa. Yeah, post-COVID-19, what do we expect? Yes, things will start slowly, but it won't be as bad as we're expecting it to be. Purchasing power, expendable income will be very low because of fall-off, because of job losses. But trust, African economy has never obeyed world simulation and world projection. We've always gone that way when the world is going the other way. I remember the credit crunch. While they were suffering, we are still enjoying ourselves here, so to say. So I know we will travel, and there's no way government or economists can do without aviation. Absolutely no way. So government need to work with airlines, with operators, hospitality as a whole. We must bring back business. Since people have to move, and without people moving, there'll be no economy. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I greet everybody and wish you well as you stay home and stay away from, stay safe from COVID. Thank you. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chima.
Thank you.
Yeah, Didier, I think it's time we remind our participants that it is a whole month-long webinar series. Next week, we are going to be having another issue to focus on MICE, the future of MICE in Africa. MICE is one industry that has opened Africa Hub. Last year, Ghana did the Year of Return, and then there were so many MICE events. So, Mr. Kingsley, I'm looking forward to bringing you back, and I'm also looking forward to connecting with you to help bring the MICE expert in Ghana on next week's edition. Every panel member here today, I want to appreciate you. I want to also remind you the following Thursday, which will be 21st of May, we'll be focusing on African airports and air travel services. So I will be coming back to all of you panelists to connect me with the airport operators and airport management authorities in your countries. Also, May 28th, Thursday, the last Thursday of the month, we're going to be looking at African governments, visa policies, and SATI. Dr. Gabriel Olowo has already committed to be there with us every time. I want to believe that I will have your support. Myself and Didier will have you back on other sessions, and from the angle Madam Susan has come from now. Madam Susan, I think immediately after COVID-19, or even before COVID-19 is over, we should start at TBS destination webinars. Didier, I don't know if you are with me. Yes, destination webinars, where Mr. Menon can come, the tour operator, operators and their association in Mauritius can come on the webinar like this. We have about 100 participants here today. We have audiences now on YouTube currently. where we can now bring African destinations in a destination webinar to look at everything that is possible that we can sell as Africans visiting Africa. So my closing remark before we end today's meeting, this is 5:26 p.m. Africa Lagos time. My closing remark today is a very big shout out to all our participants for staying up so much up to this time. Thank you very much. Your participation, your audience, your comment in the chat room has been enormous. You are the reason why we have been able to do this. This is the fourth edition. We have 3 more to go for this month. We are not planning to stop this. Expect from us at TBS, this is going to be continuous. During COVID, post-COVID, okay? And I want to appreciate you for taking out time, for sparing data and sparing time to be with us. Now to my panelists, Madam Susan, thank you very much. From the onset, you've been on board. You have instrumental to bring in many of the panel members I have today, Dr. Olowo especially. Didier, it was a powerful job you did, okay? You said this could have been possible without me. Yes, I am the brain behind this webinar. But where would I have seen all these airline representatives, all these airline experts, if not without you? So your support, your motivation, your cooperation so far has been wonderful, has been fantastic. And we have a long journey to do. I'm very, very sure very soon, post-COVID-19, we are going to do a destination webinar on Sun International. Okay. And it is going to be wonderful.
When you are. Always ready.
Oh, definitely. Always ready. I trust you. I can trust you on that. So,
with so
to my
many
panel
airlines,
members.
Why not?
Yes. Mr. Bakare Abiola from Air Cote d'Ivoire. Thank you very much for joining me. Mr. Kingsley Chima, African World Airlines. Thank you very much for joining me. Join me again next week, Mr. Bakare. Join me again next week, Mr. Kingsley. Join me again next week, Mr. Christopher of KQ. Join me again next week, Mr. Menon. Mr. Menon, you have already sold Mauritius on this webinar. Already. Mauritius is selling fast beer on this webinar. Yes.
You never told me about Mauritius beer.
No, that's my own secret. That's where I go and relax.
Mr. Menon needs to give DJ some kudos.
That's where I go and we do our Mauritian thing.
Oh, so you guys have been making it has been a carcass thing all this while. Now Mauritius is in the open.
After having too much pepper in Naja and Ghana, that's where I go and relax and detox.
Wonderful. Yeah. So in closing, today we're going to be ending this meeting in 60 seconds, 5:29 p.m. on the dot of 5:30. Thank you, everyone on my panel. Who have I left out on the panel? Didier, help me out. I've mentioned Mr. Christopher. I've mentioned Mr. Bakare. I've mentioned Mr. Olushile from Roundtable. Roundtable. Thank you very much for representing Roundtable. Roundtable is actually in.
Online from Nairobi, Kenya. We had Cape Town, Rachel from Cape Town. We had, I can't remember everyone right now, but we
have so many Africans on this webinar,
which is great.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone. And you can go back and watch a replay of this webinar on our YouTube channel. Just type in Tourism Business Success International. This webinar is being streamed live as I'm talking now, and will still be available immediately after this webinar is ended.
As we receive the link, please let's share with all the industry players. Let's get as many people as possible, because this is how we'll make a difference and stand and make Africa better for Africans.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And on that note, on this hour, at this time, very second, we'll bring today's 4th edition of the Aviation, Tourism, Hospitality Post-COVID-19 Recovery webinar with focus on African airlines and GDS companies to a close. See you all next week, Thursday, for focus on the future of MICE in Africa. Thank you. God bless you. And see you next week. Bye for now.
Bye.
So I'm unmuting us now so that we can have our voice remarks. Everyone, let's hear your voice. Let's see how you have been impacted by today's webinar.
Celestine with you.
I would not.
Celestine with you.
That's what he's doing there. Please, I'm saying
All right, the floor is open. The floor is open. If you have something to say, any feedback you want to give to us, the floor is open. You can unmute your microphone and just drop your remark for us. I can see All About Travels is in the house. I can see Call to Fly Limited is in the house. I can see Doze OB is in the house. If you have anything to say, let's talk, let's have a chat. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate you. Thank you all.
Hi, can I make a comment?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yes, sir.
What's the name?
So my name is Aaron. I'm in Zimbabwe.
From Zimbabwe. Wow.
Yes.
Thank you for coming on this webinar.
Well, fine. So one problem I have with the aviation sector in Africa is that if I'm to fly to Nigeria, I can't do the normal Harare, Ethiopia, Abuja. With some flights or some countries, I have to go to Europe first before I can get there. Mozambique, for an example, was our neighbor, but for many years, you had to fly to Portugal first before you fly back to Zimbabwe. Only recently, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, did we start having direct flights from Harare to Maputo. So I wanted to ask the aviation industry, really, what's wrong with Africa? Why can't we fly amongst ourselves? What is stopping us from that intra-Africa flight all these years?
Yes, thank you very much for bringing that up. That is that situation has happened because of
flights
the
from Harare to something. You need to go to Europe before you come back to Africa.
That is not Nigeria's fault.
No, problem he has with the aviation in Africa.
He has not finished his problem.
All right. Thank you very much for bringing that up. That same topic you guys are discussing about is what we are going to be focusing on our 7th edition of this Aviation Tourism Hospitality Post-Covid19 Recovery webinar. So join us on May 28th, Thursday, as we look at focus on African governments, the single African air travel market setting, which has been in the pipeline for a long time, that will have settled this issue of African having to go to Europe before flying intra-Africa. We're going to discuss that. Next edition, coming up on May 28th, Thursday, 2020. Join us. We'll be sharing the links. We'll be sharing the registration link. Join us then and bring all your questions, bring all your contributions. Thank you very much for the feedback. We really appreciate you.
Good evening, sir.
Everyone on board.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening. What's the name?
My name is Adekunle Adam.
Adekunle Adams from where?
Yeah, from Lagos State, Nigeria.
All right. All right. So go ahead with your contribution.
I just want to appreciate you people for the work done, for enlightening us much on Africa Airlines. I really appreciate you people. And I could remember you said last week that you are going to share, you said you are going to share some link and send us some picture, but we've not seen it. I think you should help us to do that through email.
We actually sent a full webinar of last section's webinar with all the slides we used. We forwarded it to the email of registered participants. That's the reason why it's very important for you to register.
Yeah, I registered, but I can't find it on it.
Okay, do this right the way. Send an email now to Tourism Business Success International. Let me take that again. Tourism Business Success @gmail.com. Send an email now. My team will definitely receive that and will be able to forward you those slides, those pictures, the IATA passenger survey, the UAE COVID-19 update, the UNWTO video. We have a lot of resources that we have shared on this webinar. If you want it, just send a request to Tourism Business Success @gmail.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Mr. Adekunle Adams. So we're going to end it here today. We've done 2 hours, 48 minutes, 35 seconds, all this webinar. Our YouTube audience, thank you very much for staying connected. We are with you guys on YouTube. Thank you very much. Join us again next week, Thursday, for the Aviation, Tourism and Hospitality Post-Covid19 Recovery webinar, focus on the future of MICE in Africa. On behalf of my team and I, as Tourism Business Success International, we want to appreciate you for taking time out. See you all again next week. Bye for now.